Firstly, you can resize the webinar windows to cater to your viewing preferences. You can maximize, minimize, and drag the windows to your preferred viewing size. If you look at the bottom middle of your screen, you can click on the widgets that you'll need to get the most out of this virtual experience. Secondly, Microsoft specialists are on hand to answer your questions in real time. So feel free to type in your questions using the Q&A window and we'll answer them as soon as we can. Lastly, we've provided some additional resources for you to supplement your learning. You can access them by clicking on the links in this section. Without further ado, I'll hand over to our speakers.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the virtual training day for Microsoft Dynamics 365 Fundamentals. My name's Chelsea Lee, and I'll be your Microsoft Technical Trainer over the next 2 sessions as we're exploring the customer engagement apps inside of Dynamics. You also might have heard this described as the CRM apps as well. But here's the cool thing. If you're looking for a new badge to add to your collection, these 2 sessions tie directly to the MB 910 exam. In fact, by attending this session and leveraging the learning path at aka.ms/MB910, you're going to have everything you need to sit for the MB 910 exam. Now, for this virtual training day, we're going to be breaking up the CRM apps into 2 different sessions. Today, in part 1, we're going to introduce the Dataverse, and this is the foundation for Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. We're also going to explore the marketing and sales apps inside of Dynamics. And then in part 2, we're going to dig a little bit deeper into the customer service, field service, and project operations side of Dynamics. And we have a full agenda ahead of us. So why don't we go ahead and get started with our first module? And again, just so you know, all of the material that I'm going to be covering can be found at aka.ms/MB910. Now, Dynamics 365's customer engagement applications are customer-focused business applications that are built on the Microsoft Power Platform. They're designed to help organizations more effectively engage their customers. And what's cool about the Microsoft Power Platform, it's a low-code application development platform that not only supports Dynamics 365, but also Office 365, Azure, and a lot of other standalone applications. Because it's combining the power of literally Power Apps, Power BI, and Power Automate into one platform that provides a quick and easy app building and other data insights. So one of the key elements to building applications on this platform is going to be the Microsoft Dataverse. And the Dataverse lets you securely store and manage data used by all of your different business applications. So let's say, for example, if you are storing all of your customer data in tables inside of the Dataverse, each of these tables are going to be made up of rows and columns for specific information like the name, the address, different shopping preferences, and really any other information that you might want to collect. Well, the Dataverse includes a set of standard tables that covers most of these typical business scenarios like accounts and contacts and activities. And the advantage to the Dataverse is that organizations can also create custom tables specific to their needs and then populate them with their data. And all of the different applications that we're going to be looking at inside of Dynamics 365 are storing their data inside of the Dataverse. And the real benefit to you and to your organization is that you can build apps by using Power Apps and the Dataverse directly against your core business data, which this is already used inside of Dynamics 365, so you're not having to take any extra steps to integrate the 2. And since we know where the data is being stored, why don't we go ahead and look at the 5 core Dynamics 365 customer engagement apps. We have sales, customer service, field service, project operations, and marketing. And these applications can help change the way that your organization engages and interacts with your customers. And by using these tools, your organization can create really personalized marketing and sales and service experiences using that data and that intelligence to improve and customize every interaction. So one of the easiest ways to access all of your different applications is by going to office.com/apps. Now you can see here, I'm actually logged in as assistant admin, and so I have all of the apps that are available inside of my organization, but it may vary slightly based off of your own permissions. But I want to look very specifically at our business apps. So when I select on business apps here, there are a number of different ones. Like I have field service, marketing, sales, customer service. And even if I couldn't find one because, they kind of have similar icons, what I can do is I can actually select search. And let's say I was looking for Sales Hub. Well, if I select Sales Hub, it's going to take me into the Sales Hub application. And we'll explore this a little bit later on today. But this is just sales. What happens if I wanted to switch between, marketing? Well, this is my app settings for sales specifically. However, it's real easy if I wanted to change it. All I have to do is click on this grid right here. And if I wanted to switch to marketing, all I have to do is select marketing, and now I'm there. Now, over here at the bottom, I kind of showed you that application setting. I can change the area from marketing to events, which go hand in hand with one another, and we'll look at that more in Module 2. But let's take a look here at settings. So as assistant admin, I have a lot more access than maybe someone on our marketing team or our sales team would have access inside of these applications. But this is where if I wanted to do any type of configuration around my forms or the way that my leads are set up, this allows me to have total control over that. But really, kind of what I want to show you is as you go through all of these different applications or these different views, you'll notice, we're going to be exploring sales and marketing today, it looks similar. And that's what I really like about Dynamics is that it's easy, one, to move back and forth between areas that you're using frequently, but it also has a very similar feel to it. So your search is always going to be at the top, your filtering, and I'll show you as we go through today and we look at our sales process and our marketing lifecycle, how easy it is to switch back and forth. As you can see, it's very easy to access the different Dynamics 365 applications that are available directly from the home screen. And you saw once you open an app, it's simple to switch between each one as you need it. And since we understand how you access and navigate the different apps, why don't we go ahead and take a closer look at probably one of the most used record types, and it's something that's used across all the different customer engagement applications. So inside of Dynamics 365, you're going to be working with customers. And when it comes to customer types, you have business to business or B2B, which is a customer who is a business purchasing your products or services, a business to consumer, B2C, where an individual is buying the product or service, and then you have what's called a hybrid customer, and this can either be a business or an individual. And no matter what type of customer you are working with in Dynamics 365, it can support you. And the way you set up all your different customer profiles is through accounts and contacts. Now, an account represents a company or an organization that you do business with. So think of this like a customer, a vendor, a partner, it could be a reseller. But within an account, you are going to have a contact, and that contact represents a person. Now, this contact can be a standalone person, it's an individual as an organization. It's up to you how you want to organize it. But these accounts and contacts can be tied to one another in a few different ways. You can have what we call parent accounts that have a number of different accounts underneath it. And then accounts and parent accounts can both have contacts associated with them. Now, while an account might have multiple contacts, it's likely that you're going to have one primary contact. And that primary contact is that person at the organization that you're usually working with. And part of the reason that you collect information on accounts and contacts is to know who you're working with. But you also want to keep track of the communication that you and your team have with your customers. And that's what we call an activity. And activities inside of Dynamics 365, it allows you to track meetings, emails, phone calls, or even notes from meetings. And as your organization's relationships with a customer builds over time, you and other people on your team can look through of a record and basically create a timeline to see a history of all your different interactions. And when it comes to tracking all these different activities, you're going to be most likely tracking communication with either an account or a customer. But there's a few different ways that you can leverage activities. Later on, when we look at the sales lifecycle, you might want to take note on a call regarding a lead or a quote. Or, let's say, for example, when you're working with service work orders, it might be helpful to note any calls about the issue so everyone who's involved will be on the same page in case the customer reaches out. Now, what I do want to show you is how easy it is to create a customer and add these activities. So let's go ahead and log into our Dynamics account. Now, I have the Sales Hub pulled up from earlier, but what we have over here on the left-hand side, this is our navigation bar. Now, I'm going to come over here underneath Customers, and I'm going to select an account. And to create one, you can see here's all my existing accounts, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a new account. And as you see, we have some account information. Now, anything with that red asterisk is required. So for the account name, I'm going to do Contoso Corporate. And for the phone number, just plug in a phone number here. Now, we don't have a fax. The website, again, all of this, you can see it's not necessarily required because it does not have that red asterisk. But what I can do is I can add in a service address, and this might be helpful when I am working with any type of tickets later on. So in this case, let's do 191, 181, Avenue N, and we are in Seattle. So we have the state Washington. Let's go ahead and enter in the zip code 98101 and country USA. All right, so we can go ahead and click done for that. And again, this is where I can enter in any other information that might be pertinent to the account. But for now, let's just go ahead and save and close. And now that account has been created, now, if I wanted to, I could actually create another account very simply. So we'll go ahead and create a new one. And we're going to create Contoso North America. So it's a different account, but you kind of see where I'm going here with this one. So phone number 888-555-4321. And in this case, I'm going to just notate that this company is in Chicago. And again, I can go back and fill in any of that information down the road if I want. But what I can do is I can actually set the parent account. So the parent account is going to be right here. And if I click on that search bar, you can see the recent accounts. I can set it for Contoso Corporate. So now I've created a parent account with a child account underneath it, showing that they are together. I'm going to go ahead and select Save. And now what I can do is I can actually add contacts to that. So I can create a contact directly from here if I'd like. So from the related fields, we can select contacts. And I can create a new contact, or if I had existing contacts in the system, I absolutely could. But I'm going to just go ahead and select a new contact. And then this is where I can either scan a business card or I can enter it in myself. So I'm going to enter in Jackson Anderson. He is the CEO, and you can see I have him tied to the account for the North America. And then his email is jackson@contoso.com, and I have his business phone number, and that's where, you see it's pulling in the information that I had previously entered. Now, if I wanted to, I could make adjustments. But if I wanted to, I'll select Save and Close. Now, what I can do is I can actually select him, and if I wanted to, I can now make him the primary contact for this account. And so that way, anytime someone comes into Contoso North America, they're now coming in and they see that this individual is now the primary contact. And that way, if we meet other people, like say from the accounting department or the marketing department, we know who the main contact is and who we should be reaching out to. So if I actually come over here and select Jackson, I now have a timeline of every type of communication that's ever been had or anything that's been entered by my sales team, my marketing team, anyone who's interacted with Contoso or Jackson. And so let's say, for example, if I wanted to schedule an appointment with him, what I can do is I can come up here and I can select new, and you can see there's all sorts of type of record events. So I can select appointment. All right, so when I create an appointment, because I was on Jackson's contact record, it's automatically going to pull in his name, and it's also going to pull in the account I'm logged in as. I'm logged in as a system administrator, but I can also change the owner, I can change the attendee, and I can also include any optional attendees. So in this case, I'm gonna just say meeting with Jackson, and we can say diner 1 when we're having a lunch meeting. Now, in this case, Jackson's calendar is really busy, and I'm not going to be able to talk to him until June 1st of 2025. But the good news is we have record that there is a meeting on calendar. So since we know he's busy, we're not necessarily following up with him all the time saying, hey, can we get on your calendar? We can see it's already there. So I'll go ahead and select Save and Close. And now the timeline has been updated to show that that meeting has been scheduled with Jackson. And this is actually part of the assistant, which we'll look at in a little bit later on today, is you can see information about the appointment itself. So if I actually select this down arrow, if there was any other information about where it's located or any optional attendees, I could then see that details here. Now, if I wanted to actually select the appointment, I can then add any details about the appointment myself. So let's say we are in the future, it's June 2025. We had lunch with Jackson, the meeting went great. If I wanted to, I could enter a note saying lunch meeting. Jackson is interested in buying our product. I can add that note, and then I can mark this appointment as complete. Then that note has that appointment's been completed. You can see it's closed on the timeline. And then if I wanted to, I can save and close Jackson's contact record, and everything's been updated. And as you can see, it's extremely easy to add and track customer engagements, appointments, basically any interaction. And part of the reason we do this is to build a profile on our customers. And as your organization grows, it's important that you can easily find this information when you need it. And there are so many different ways that you can go about finding data. So let's say, for example, if I'm looking for all my customers who are located in Redmond, Washington, you can see here on the screen, I can simply add a filter to the city column. And really, you can add as many filters as you need to create the view that fits your need. But if needed, you can actually search for a specific word or a specific phrase inside of Dynamics as well. So if I wanted to find all my accounts with the word adventure in it, all I would have to do is type that into the search field, and it would pull up anything that meets my criteria. And this is where I'm searching one view. And in this case, if you look here on the screen, I'm only searching my active accounts. But if I wanted to pull not only my accounts, but all of the contacts who are associated with a company that has the word adventure in it, I'm going to want to use a categorized search. So what this does, it allows me to add an additional filter through what we call advanced search, which adds like different conditions, think of an account with open orders or active leads, different filters like that. And while it may sound complicated, it's fairly easy to use. So let's go ahead and look at the different searching and filtering options available inside of Dynamics 365 to help locate those different account records. Now I'm just coming back to the same Sales Hub app that we've been using so far. And on this left-hand side panel, I'm going to come back down to accounts, and we've already taken a look at that. But what I want to do is I want to search for a specific city. And you can see the view I'm currently in is my active accounts. And so if I wanted to, I could actually filter by city or location. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this little filter button. And I am going to change it to, I'm looking for accounts. So I'm going to add a new row. And I'm going to change it to where the city, we can see I have my different operators here, and I'm going to say it equals Redmond. And when it comes to filtering, I could have equals, does not equal, contains, begins with, so you can see that there's a number of different options when it comes to that. Now when I apply that, you can see here, it has now pulled up all of my accounts, my active accounts that are located in Redmond. And if I wanted to clear this filter and go back to my all my active accounts, I can do that here. Now, if I wanted to search for like a particular phrase, for example, I'm going to just type in fourth here. You can see that this is pulling up my account Fourth Coffee. So if I select Fourth Coffee, we can see that record timeline right here. And, from the Fourth Coffee account, I can add an activity. So I'm going to select create a new timeline record, and instead of an appointment, let's create a task. And in this case, it's sending marketing material. And I'm not going to add a description, but let's say I have to do this by June 1st, 2025. All right. And the priority, this is high. This is a high priority. And there we go. I can go ahead and save and close. And that now is a task. And when we talk about syncing the data across all the different Office 365 applications, this can actually sync with your Outlook account. But I'm going to go ahead and save and close on this account. And then we're going to go back over here to our navigation bar. And then over here on the left-hand side, I'm actually going to scroll up and I'm going to come to my recent. And you can see all of my different recent either accounts or contacts that I have worked with. Now, let's say, for example, we're doing a really intensive campaign with Fourth Coffee. What I can do is I can actually pin Fourth Coffee to the top, so that way it's always going to be at the top of my recent list and make it easy for me to come back and visit the Fourth Coffee account. So not only it's under my recent, but if you come down here to the pinned, you can see Fourth Coffee is pinned, and it can either be a contact or an account. It doesn't just have to be the main account. But I also want to show you under my work, we have the activities. Now, from the activities, you can see here is my sending marketing material task. It's a high priority, and you can see when I need to start it and when it's due by. Let's say I'm working ahead, and if I wanted to, I can actually click on that task, and I'm going to click Send Marketing Material. And if I wanted to, I can then mark it as complete. So I'm going to say Mark as complete. And now it's off my activity list, but if I want to make sure that it's gone, what I can do is I can come over to my pinned area, select Fourth Coffee, and you can see that the task of sending the marketing material, it is in fact closed. Okay, so we know how to add information on our customers and we know how to search it. But what about the products and services that you're actually selling? And Dynamics 365 doesn't just make it easy for you to manage your customer data, but it also allows you to create product catalogs that can help you keep track of all of your offerings and different variations of them. So a product catalog, what this is it's a collection of products and services that an organization is selling that you are providing to your customers. Now, a typical product catalog usually includes a list of all the products that you sell, but it also has all of the different pricing options. What's the difference between retail pricing versus wholesale? And what this does, it helps your sales team understand how that product is going to be sold. And so when we're looking at the product catalog, there are 4 main categories. We have the unit groups, the products, the price lists, and the discount lists. So why don't we go ahead and start with the unit groups first. This is how the product is sold. Are you selling the products as a pack, as a pair, or is it a service? Are you charging by the hour, the month, or annually? Next, what we have is the products themselves. This is what you are selling to your customer. And the price list is how you charge for the products. And then, if you are going to offer discounts, you have a discount list that tells your sales team about any available discounts like bulk discounts or wholesale discounts. And the product catalog is going to be used across all of the Dynamics 365 apps. And we're going to explore this in a little bit more detail when we get into some of our later modules. But we have one last lesson of Module 1. And what I want to do is I want to explain the benefit of leveraging Dynamics 365 applications in your organization. Because you see, Dynamics can easily integrate with other Microsoft applications that allow you to use Dynamics in so many ways across your entire organization. So let's say, for example, you can store files in Dynamics records, but that's going to be a standalone copy. But imagine if you were able to interact with a file or a document in its native application, and then it was automatically synced across all the different platforms. Now, some of the most common integrations I see are with Word, Excel, Teams, SharePoint, and all of the different Power Platform apps. And Microsoft Word, that's probably one of the most common applications used in the workplace. But when it's integrated with the Dataverse, you can create templates and then share those templates across the organization for invoices, for reports, or really anything that you can think of. And while Word is probably one of the more popular applications, I actually think Excel is probably one of the most used integration in Dynamics. Think about it. You have all of this data inside of Dynamics. And by exporting this data into Excel, your team can manipulate and analyze the data to really extract those useful business insights. And since everything's integrated, you're going to have the option to export the data as a local copy on your machine, or you can export it as a dynamic worksheet. And so what happens is there's a link maintained from Excel to the Dataverse and Dynamics. So with Word and Excel, we also have SharePoint. Now, since you can store documents inside of Dynamics, by leveraging SharePoint, any document that you add to Dynamics, it's also going to be stored in the SharePoint site. And at the end of the day, all of these different integrations are really are designed to help your team collaborate and work with the most up-to-date information. And especially over the last year, we've seen how important it is for teams to be able to collaborate without being in the same physical space. Now, Microsoft Teams has become an important tool with virtual teams, but it goes beyond just virtual meetings. With integrations between Teams and Dynamics, your sales team, they can actually share different Dynamics records inside of the Teams platform. And since the documents are synced between the two, all of your updates are always going to be synced. Now, there is one other integration that I want to look at, and that's the Power Apps and Dynamics 365 Customer Engagement Apps. These are both what you call model-driven apps. And because of this, you can take advantage of all the different Canvas apps. And this allows you to connect different data sources beyond just what's on the Dataverse. So imagine if you're using a SQL application or maybe some type of third-party app. You can pull all of that data together and create really dynamic visualizations. But it's really not just about collecting data. It's how you use that data. So what we also has a part of Dynamics 365 is a number of different reporting tools. And we've looked at some of the views and we've looked at how you can search and filter them, but you can also create charts that provide kind of like a visual breakdown of your data. And these charts are interactive. So if you wanted to, you could really drill down and get into the nitty-gritty of your data. And then what you do is you're going to take all of these views and all these charts that you create, and then you can combine them to create a custom dashboard. Now, I'm personally a huge fan of dashboards because it's keeping all the information that I need in one single place. And if I want, I can share these dashboards with others on my team. Or as an admin, you can actually create a standard dashboard that's available to everyone. And, reports, I think reports are part of the business place. When you have reports that you create, you can generate them and export them and share them with others in your organizations. Now, you have the opportunity to completely customize them based off of your needs using some of the different search, or basically like a wizard that we saw earlier with the search feature. But, at the end of the day, what I want you to take away from this first module is that all of the customer engagement apps, what they're doing is they're allowing you to work seamlessly across your organization. And for the rest of today, we're going to explore how these tools and these integrations make it easier for your sales and marketing teams to find potential customers and build long-lasting relationships. But before we really start to dig in, let's go ahead and take a short 10-minute break. This will give you a chance to stand up, stretch, and when we come back, we're going to look specifically at the Dynamics 365 marketing applications. Sound good? Okay, so I'll see you back here in 10. Working with Dynamics 365 marketing. This is a marketing application that can help you take your prospective relationships and turn them into business relationships. But before we get into all of the cool tools that Dynamics 365 offers, I actually want to review the basics of marketing. Now, when you are building out your marketing strategy, your goal is to appeal to one of three expectations that your buyers have. Why are they buying your product? Or why should they buy your product? Is it something that they need in their lives? And I'm not talking about needs like the way that you need chocolate, but the way that you need shelter and you need food. Or, maybe it's something that they want. This is that desire for chocolate. I don't need chocolate for basic survival, but it's still something that I crave. And then, the last one is demands. And this is caused when your consumers are buying the product so much that it makes others want it. And this can actually create a shortage or something that's perceived as a shortage. Now, no matter what the motivation is for your customers, you're going to need to be able to identify the right market and get your product or service in front of them. And that's where Dynamics 365 marketing comes in. It can help you identify who your prospects are and turn them into business relationships. And when we break down business, it really all comes down to relationships. Think about it for a second. If you're looking for a place to eat, are you more likely to go to a place that your friend recommended or a random place that you know nothing about? You're probably going to choose the restaurant that your friend recommends because you trust them. So when it comes to marketing inside of Dynamics, you can build out campaigns to target the right audience based on their location, their preferences, or even mutual connections. And these are just a couple of the different capabilities inside of the system. Now, if you aren't a marketing professional, you may not be familiar with this process or even were aware of how much went on behind the scenes. So I actually want to break down some key terminology when it comes to marketing that, I think might be helpful when it comes to building out your first campaign in Dynamics 365. I have all of these terms listed on the screen for you. But remember, all of these can also be found at the learning path at aka.ms/mv910. Okay, so first, what we have is marketing automation. This is a software, in this case we're talking about Dynamics 365, that can automate the tasks that your marketing team are responsible for. And these tasks are what make up your marketing operations. For example, how can you make sure that your customers are hearing the right message at the right time? Well, one of those ways is by creating a marketing campaign. You can promote your products through print ads or TV ads. You can also use digital marketing that leverages social media and email campaigns. And if you wanted to, you could host or sponsor an event to drive extra interest that, all of these are different marketing approaches that you have the option to take. Now, it doesn't matter what type of marketing campaign you select, you're going to want to track the progress. And oftentimes what we see with organization is they're going to have set KPIs or key performance indicators to help set goals and track progress of all of those goals. And this is extremely helpful if you're engaging in any type of product marketing where you are focused on launching a specific product in the market. Now, one of the ways that you can ensure success when it comes to product launches is by making sure that you are positioned correctly in the consumer's mind. Think about it. Do they consider your product high-end, low-end, somewhere in the middle? Brand positioning is how you rank compared to your competitors. And some of that comes from brand awareness. Do you have a logo or a tagline that's easily recognizable? I bet you right now you could think of some sort of jingle for a product that you know, or maybe it's a logo that you'd recognize anywhere. All of that, that's what brand awareness is. So once you have your brand and you've established where it is in the customer's mind, you can begin the customer journey from lead nurturing all the way through. Now, a lead is usually the first step in the customer journey. This is where you are taking a minor interest in your product and you're building it into an established relationship. This is usually done through some type of customized or targeted engagement. And that's what the customer journey is. You're starting from the very first interaction and focus on leading them through, ultimately, to a sale. And, you can find leads anywhere. You could create a landing page, for example, to just collect general interest, in a form. Or you can segment out your customer base to target a very specific type of customer based off of a specific characteristic. But really, no matter where you're getting your leads from, it's important to know which ones are most likely to convert into an order. And some organizations use lead scoring. That way they're ranking leads based off of their viability to a sell. Now, I know this is a lot. And it's a lot, especially if this isn't something that you do on a regular basis. However, if you are planning on taking the exam, I would really recommend that you familiarize yourself with some of these different terms. But the good news is, when we look at all of these different tasks that happen in marketing, Dynamics 365 can help you manage a lot of these. And so whether it's working with your customers or designing a campaign that's going to put your product in front of the right audience, Dynamics can help you with your efforts. In Module 1, we learned that customers are the folks who are buying your products or service. This is who you are targeting for your marketing efforts. And there are a lot of different ways that you can do this. You can send out marketing emails, or maybe you're leveraging social media to reach your customers. You could even build out a custom customer journey that creates a path depending on what action the customer takes that's really going to encourage a sale. And as your customers interact with your marketing efforts and they're expressing interest, they can be converted into sales leads. And Dynamics 365 can actually score each lead based on these different interactions, like opening an email or visiting a web page, and it can determine whether or not if that lead is likely to make a purchase. But, when we look at a lot of the different marketing efforts that we have out in the world today, more and more of them are internet-based. And a lot of times, your customers are going to be introduced to your products through some sort of web page. And what's nice is Dynamics 365 makes it really easy for you to collect information on your customers and then leverage that information to really expand your overall marketing strategy. But, kind of when we really get down into it, Dynamics 365 marketing is going to allow you to create a tailored marketing content that's going to highlight your organization's branding and marketing position. So it helps you put the right content in front of the right people all through these different targeted customer journeys. And that is what's going to help turn these leads into customers. And what I want to do today, is I want to show you all the different tools inside of Dynamics Marketing that can help your organization make better decisions to get to the sale faster. And we know when it comes to, some of those key tasks around creating effective marketing campaigns, you need to be able to identify leads. You need to be able to break down those leads. And when you break them down, you need to break them into segments to help curate marketing materials for them. And, whether it's through a variety of different marketing techniques, your goal is to turn that lead into the sale. And an extremely important part of any marketing campaign is making sure that you are targeting the consumers who are going to benefit most from your product or your service. And you know what? You could design the most amazing marketing campaign, but if you're not getting it in front of the right audience, it's kind of a waste. Because that, is one of the first and most important decisions that you need to make when designing a marketing piece. You need to be able to choose the correct audience. And once you understand your audience, well, then you can tailor your messaging and, you tailor your marketing approach to appeal to that specific group of people. And you can choose to segment your audience on a few different factors. Let's say, for example, if you wanted to segment your audience based off of their physical location, or maybe folks who have visited your website in the last month. But you want to make sure you understand your audience before you build out your campaign. And I'm going to show you in a minute how easy it is to create a customer segment. But, once you have your audience identified, then you build out your different marketing tactics. Now, in today's world, email marketing is probably one of the most common marketing tactics because not only does it let you reach a large number of customers in a really short amount of time, but it's pretty easy to tailor the message content and provide a personalized experience for each of the customers receiving it. And Dynamics can actually make it really easy for your marketing team to customize those emails. And you can send them out to any contact that you've collected from a landing page or even existing contacts that you already have inside of Dynamics. And when you actually send out the email, you can connect that as part of the customer journey. So as you engage with all these different potential leads through emails or any other market initiatives, not all of them are going to respond. Some of them, they might see your organization and they're going to be like, yes, and they'll respond right away with interest. Or, maybe they're not going to be as interested and maybe they don't respond or engage at all. But as all of these different contacts interact with your marketing initiatives, you're going to generate different leads, from this interest level and collect all of that from these different contacts. Now, the interest, when we talk about the interest from each lead, you can actually score these. And this is scored based on how your customers interact with your organization. Dynamics 365 Marketing can calculate a score for each lead based off of demographic details, firmographic details, or actions like opening an email, submitting on a landing page, or even going to your website. And once you have the score, you can actually design segments and customer journeys to engage that high scoring leads with like different targeted messaging or, special offers that kind of nurture their interest. But, why don't we actually log back into Dynamics 365? And I'm going to take you through the process of creating a customer segment. All right, so I'm actually logged in to the marketing app, which is a little bit different than the Sales Hub app, which we were using earlier. Now, it's a similar feel, and you can see I still have customers, but I'm going to go specifically to segments. Now, here are all my active segments, and one of the things, especially as you start to use Dynamics more, you're going to notice that the menus are going to kind of have that same experience. So once you learn how to navigate one app, it's pretty easy to learn the others. But I'm going to create a new segment, and I'm going to create a new Dynamics segment. And when I go to create a new segment, it is going to first give me the option for templates. And you can see we have some basic templates already set up, like, an interaction, did they join an event, is it their birthday, today or in the next 5 days. So if you wanted to send out any happy birthday notes, you can do that. But I am going to skip using any of these templates. I'm actually going to create my own. Now, one of the first things that I need to do is I need to add a query block. And essentially, this is going to run a query or look for that filter, basically, against my contacts. So first, I need an attribute. Let's do city in this case. So I'm going to select city, and then I'm going to say that the city is, in this case, Bellevue. All right. Once I have that, I can name my segment. And so we are going to name this segment, we'll call it Bellevue Contacts. All right. And then I can select Save. Now, if I wanted to, I can actually publish this segment. Now, when I publish this segment, my segment will go live. Now, it does take a minute or so for it to publish and basically be available as a segment that I can use. And so you can see that there's little changes happening. It shows me as live, and that I have one member added into this segment. What's nice is that as I have more contacts who are added into Bellevue or they're located in Bellevue, they're going to be automatically added into the segment. So if I send out any Bellevue specific marketing material, it's going to go directly to these contacts, and I don't have to rerun that multiple times. So now that we've defined who we are going to market to, we can actually start to build out the rest of the customer journey. And if you remember from that slide of marketing terms, the customer journey is the path that your customers or potential customers take as they interact with your marketing process. Now, the main goal of the customer journey is to take that customer interest, the lead, and ultimately convert it into a sale that leads to revenue. You can see here on the screen, though, we have an extremely simple customer journey. What we have is that potential customer is opening some type of an email, and that email has links to different product pages. Depending on what product the customer clicks, they're going to be redirected to a landing page where they can request additional information. They're going to provide information that, we can then use to customize additional marketing material, or maybe they're giving us a phone number for a sales rep to follow up on. And hopefully that sales rep is going to then make a sale. And ta-da, you've completed the customer journey. And so when you start to build out the customer journey inside of Dynamics 365, you're going to need a couple different pieces of information. Who is your target customer? This is usually defined through that customer segment. And then you'll need to know what type of marketing activities that you're going to want to build into the journey. Now, you absolutely can keep this pretty simple. We saw a real basic one just now. But if you want, you can build out a pretty dynamic journey. What I want you to do is kind of think of a journey as a series of actions with like if-then statements. So if an email is open, then send them a newsletter. But if the email isn't open, send them a brochure. It's completely up to you. And the whole process is relatively easy to build out in Dynamics. I actually want to show you how that works. So we are still in the marketing app, and using that navigation bar, if you scroll down under marketing execution, you can see customer journeys. These are all the journeys that I've already created, but let's go ahead and create a new one. I'm going to select new, and it's going to pull up different templates. Again, very similar to what we saw in the segments. We're going to skip, and we're going to actually create our own. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to set an audience. So what we're going to do is we'll click this add button. And this is where, if I wanted to, I could actually pull in that segment. So let's actually select the segment. And I want the segment, and I'm going to look for the segment Bellevue Contacts. All right. So this is now showing me that this starts when someone is, added or is part of the Bellevue contact. All right. And we can see that this is live. And now what I can do is I can actually now select more steps. You're really not limited on how many steps in a journey that you can have. So I'm going to add a tile, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select send an email. Now, if I wanted to, I can look for a new marketing email. And let's just say, for example, I'm going to use a template in this case. So why don't we actually, this one looks pretty. So let's use this template. So I'm going to select this template. And you can see here, this is where if I wanted to do any other type of customizations, you can see it's kind of almost like a drag and drop designer. But I'm going to go ahead and select save. And then we'll close out the email editor. So now what I can do is I have my email. We can see my email details, that it is active. And then if I wanted to change any email elements, I can. If I wanted to have any dependencies, or if I wanted to send it out on a schedule, what day of the week do I want to send it on? You can see that you have a lot of customization when it comes to building out those different tasks in the journey. So if I wanted to, now I can actually add a little bit more information on the customer journey itself, give it a name. So I'm going to select General. And we are going to give it a name. So I'm going to name this Bellevue Customers. And then you can see I have my owner, I can see that I'm targeting a contact. I have my start time and my end time for this. And then if I wanted to adjust any time zones. So let's say, for example, that Bellevue is in Pacific. So and I'll just select Pacific here. Once we're there, I can go ahead and just select save. And once it's saved, I can go ahead and select go live. So now that it's getting set up, it's still in draft. It's going to take a little bit to go live, but once we hit the dates that we set up our customer journey for, then that email will get sent out to everybody who is in the Bellevue customer segment. As you can see, customer journeys are a key component in Dynamics 365 marketing. You are pretty much always going to create a customer journey, for really any marketing effort, because it's going to help you guide the path that a customer takes while interacting with your organization's marketing process. But you might be saying, well, Chelsea, this is great and all, but where am I supposed to get all these prospects from? Well, Don't you worry, my friends. Dynamics 365 makes it easy for your marketing team to host large-scale events to find leads or show off the latest products to some of your existing customers. And when it comes to creating events inside of Dynamics Marketing, you can actually create a single event record that's going to keep all of your planning details in one single location. And this event record has a timeline to help your team, through each step of the planning process. So let's say, for example, if you need to make arrangements for speakers or individual sessions or event registration, your marketing team will have control of every single detail from planning, budgeting, to promotion, and finally the publication and the registration and all of the events analytics. And what this does is this allows your marketing team to design events that support your organization goals and attract the right audience. Again, the entire goal at the end of the day is to generate revenue. We are actually at our last section of this module. And so far, we've explored how Dynamics 365 provides organizations with a solid foundation and different tools to create customer journeys and nurture relationships with your prospects to turn them into customers. And this is great. But sometimes you need a little bit more help to convert those leads into sales. And that's actually why I want to explore some of the other marketing apps that can integrate with Dynamics 365 marketing to help extend your marketing capabilities. So let's say, for example, you want your organization to create a more targeted customer segment, maybe based on past buying patterns or your customers' interests or brand preferences. This information isn't really something that's typically available in Dynamics 365 marketing, but you could potentially pull that information from another application. So another area that's really important to customers and your marketing team is the customer engagement. Now, the more you engage with customers, the more you understand who they are. And one of the easiest ways to do this is through targeted surveys. For example, you might want to include a link to a product survey in a marketing email that you send out to your customers. And as customers complete the survey, they tell you what products they're interested in. And that can easily be added into segments. And that way you're targeting those products to those customers. And we have so many different products that can integrate with Dynamics 365 marketing to help expand its capabilities. And so what we'll be doing is we're going to be looking at 3 different ones today. We have the LinkedIn Campaign Manager, Customer Voice, and Customer Insights. So why don't we start with our first tool? This is the LinkedIn Campaign Manager. Now, it's probably likely that you already know about LinkedIn. It's the world's largest online professional network. Both individuals and organizations use LinkedIn to build relationships or hire great talent. The LinkedIn Campaign Manager is a marketing add-on that can help your organization build and market to customers based on what's important to them. So you get to define who you're going to target by creating what we call campaign groups. So let's say, for example, if you wanted to create a campaign group for customers in a specific region, like the United States, you could create a brand awareness campaign and add up to 1,000 different ad campaigns to that single campaign group. And once you have your campaign set up, you can create a budget, you can create a schedule, and that way you're meeting your goals as well as tracking any interaction from conversations, basically from anyone who sees that ad. Now, I really like the Campaign Manager because it allows me to schedule a post and basically import leads right into Dynamics 365 marketing. And then guess what we're going to create? Customer journeys. And I'm syncing that with the lead gen form. But while LinkedIn can help you target new audience, you have a whole network of professionals and organizations. There's actually another tool that can help you gather feedback from your existing customers. And here's the thing. Customer feedback is really the underlying driver of how businesses conduct business. So when you capture customer feedback, this can have a huge impact when you're combining it with your marketing efforts. For example, let's say you were to embed a survey into a marketing email. You could capture more details about the customer, such as their product interests. And based off of that customer response and all the different demographic information that you have, you could create a really targeted customer segment that you could then use in customer journeys. And Dynamics 365 Customer Voice, well, it's a feedback management tool that allows you to easily collect feedback and interpret the metrics in a way that can help drive those decisions in the business. And it's really easy to do through pre-created customizable templates that you can collect, feedback from across a number of different channels. And so when you are building out these surveys inside of Customer Voice, you can directly access them from the marketing components inside of Dynamics. So when you're in the segment builder, the email designer, the customer journey designer, you have access to it. And by making this information available inside of Dynamics 365, you can use all these surveys to make data-driven decisions and make adjustments to your marketing campaigns as needed. And while it is great to capture feedback, sometimes you're going to want data in the moment, right now, not necessarily after. Because remember, sales is all about relationships and the relationships you have with your customers. So you're going to want to make sure that every experience your customers have with your brand or with your organization is positive and it's meaningful. And the better you understand who your customers are, the easier it is to provide a more personalized customer experience. And Dynamics 365 Customer Insights is a customer data platform that helps you gain a better understanding of your customers. And the way it does this is by collecting all the data from different platforms in your organization. So this has like transactional data, behavioral data, observational data, and it's using all of this to create a 360-degree view of your customers. So once you have that customer profile, you can track data across all these different demographics, and you can identify trends based on key data that you're wanting to track. And you use this data and take action. So if you're marketing to customers, or you're improving the sales lifecycle, or increasing overall customer satisfaction. And Customer Insights inside of Dynamics, we actually have two different baseline applications. First, what we have is the Engagement Insights, which really helps you better understand how customers are engaging with your organization's websites. So you can connect to things like your retail site or your company portals, and you can start to see how those users are engaging with you. And, you might want to know what operating systems and what devices are they using? Where are they coming from? What pages are they spending the most time with? Who are your partnering domains that are referring these customers to you? Or what percentage of your customers are coming in and what are working and what's not? You get all of this data. And it really helps you understand and develop engagement strategies for how to be better at marketing and driving people to your website. It also might help you understand how your website should be structured in order to keep people there longer and maybe spend more money. That way you understand what's the best course for your organization. And the last one that we have, the last two I want to talk about, is our Audience Insights. This allows us to consolidate information from all our different transactional behavior and demographic information into a single customer resource. And the thing is, with Dynamics 365 Customer Insights, it's just a data collection repository. The purpose is to give you the information that you truly need to understand, who your customers are. And with Dynamics 365 Customer Insights, you have everything you need to consolidate that information, build segments based on who those customers are, and customize these scoring models and brand affinities that bring all of this information, together, and Dynamics 365 is allowing you to use it and ultimately move forward. But as you can see, by all of the different tools we look at, they complement the core marketing responsibilities. And when you combine Dynamics 365 marketing with different features like LinkedIn, Campaign Manager, Customer Voice, or Customer Insights, you're creating a really powerful marketing solution that's actually based off of proven techniques and ways to target different customers. So once you have your leads, you can actually hand them off to your sales team. And that's what we're going to be covering in our last module of the day. But how about this? Before we dig into Dynamics 365 sales, let's go ahead and take one more 10-minute break and we'll start our final module of the day. So go grab a drink, do some stretches, because we still have some work to do. I'll see you back here soon. Able to step away from the screen for a little bit and at least take a bit of a breather. But we have one more module to cover today, and that last module is Dynamics 365 Sales. And the tools inside the sales module allow your sales team to build stronger customer relationships and close those deals faster. And what we'll look at are some of those different tools and how it can support all the different sales scenarios that are going to help your team make better decisions. So in our Module 2, we explored the customer journey. In this module, we'll be exploring the sales process. This is the natural progression from the customer journey where your marketing team is identifying potential sales leads. Those leads are handed off to your sales team to qualify, develop, and ultimately provide a quote that'll lead to the sale of a product or service. However, the sales process can vary from organization to organization. For the sake of time, though, of this virtual training, we're going to be using the model you see here on the screen. And since this is fundamentals, a key component of the MB 910 exam is being able to identify and describe different components of the sales process. Now, if you want to review any of these, please make sure that you check out the learning path at aka.ms/MB910. But let's just take 1 minute and review some of these terms. We've already discussed accounts, activities, contacts, as well as customers, both in Module 1 and in Module 2. These are going to work the same way in the sales module as well as the marketing module. But I do want to chat a little bit more about a lead. We briefly discussed leads last module, but just so we're all on the same page, this is some type of interest that a customer expressed. Now, this can come in the form of an email interest form or an incoming call. In fact, there's even ways for you to purchase lead sheets if you wanted to. But what your sales team is going to do is they're going to take these leads and then they're going to qualify them. Essentially what they're doing is they're trying to see how viable that lead is. And once that lead has been qualified, it's going to change from a lead to an opportunity. And your sales team is going to take that opportunity and use the existing product catalog, which we discussed in Module 1. And they're going to use that to develop a quote for your potential customers. And this is what we usually see as the first step in that proposed stage. And this usually is going to include any discounts on any type of pre-negotiated rates. But once your customer agrees to those terms of the quote, it then changes into an order. And that's then processed and then triggers the fulfillment process. Now, depending on the terms of the order, an invoice is going to be sent out before the goods are delivered, but it can also be sent out after. And kind of just think of this as the bill for the order. And all of these parts are pieces of the sales process. And the sales process is what makes up the sales pipeline. So I kind of want you to think of this as a visual aid that can help your sales team know exactly where they are on their sales goals or where they are at that particular moment. But the final thing that we have here are the competitors, which, are pretty easy to understand. These are other organizations who you might be going up against to close that deal and make that sale. Maybe they have similar products and services, or maybe they're priced lower than you. Either way, there's something that could be a potential blocker when it comes to closing that deal. And kind of what I want to do is put all that terminology into practice by looking at this sample sales process. So if you see here on the screen, first what we're going to do is we're going to start with a lead. Our sales rep is going to either qualify or disqualify the lead. So if the lead is disqualified, the sales process stops right there. But if it's qualified, the sales rep is going to start to develop the lead into what we call an opportunity. The opportunity can be tied to an existing account or a contact, or you can create a new one even. But as the relationship is being developed, the sales rep will then create a quote or a proposal. And if that customer accepts the quote, it's going to turn into an order. And this is where we usually say the deal is closed. However, to fully finish out the process, the order needs to be fulfilled and billed. And so kind of what I want to show you today is how Dynamics 365 Sales can help you through every step of the sales process. The built-in tools are going to help you sell smarter and build better relationships. It also is going to free up the time of your sales team by automating some of those administratively burdensome tasks. The things that they're responsible for, like business cards or notes. And at the end of the day, it's going to boost your overall sales and productivity. So when we look at all of the different tools that are available, we have lead qualification and sales opportunity management to help build and manage your sales pipeline. And all of these tools can be easily configured to help support your sales organization's unique or, ever-changing needs. And this actually ensures that your organization can use modern selling tools and technology with your own proven sales practices. And we'll actually look at these in more detail later on. But I actually want to go back to Module 1, where we learned that Dynamics 365's customer engagement apps and other products like inside of Microsoft 365, like Teams, SharePoints, and other Office 365 tools can work together. Well, because of that, this allows your sales team to use the tools that they're already familiar with. And it also prevents any duplicate files or documents, from being stored in various locations, and it allows your team to collaborate in a single location. On top of that, the Power Platform can be used to automate some of those additional processes and really is going to help streamline those tasks. But the integrations, they don't just stop with the Microsoft applications. Remember that product catalog that we talked about in Module 1? Well, it isn't just designed to help your sales team know the costs and the available discounts, but it can actually be linked back with the finance and operations side of Dynamics to help build out those quotes and build out those invoices. Just remember, with sales inside of Dynamics, quotes, sales orders, and invoices can all be automatically generated from one another as you go through the process, which honestly makes it easier for everyone involved. And by leveraging all of the tools that are provided, your sales team can build those long-lasting relationships with your customers that honestly is going to help you generate revenue for years to come. But let's go ahead and look at your sales team and how they can use Dynamics to manage those different leads and opportunities. And, I promise you, I will show you how all of these tools work from the lead qualification stage to the order stage. But what we've already reviewed is the typical sales process. We start with the lead, it develops into an opportunity, and once you submit the quote, it's submitted, you submit and close out the deal, and it goes into fulfillment for billing and invoicing. But when you are in that qualify stage, you're trying to determine the viability of the lead. This is where you're gathering information about the lead and any related contacts. So let's say, for example, you're a sales rep and you're following up on an inquiry for information that maybe got submitted through your website. Well, that lead, you can actually connect it through some of the different features inside Dynamics to have it automatically added to the system as a lead. And we saw how you can see a timeline of any type of related activities, and it's the same thing in sales. So when your rep follows up on a lead, maybe a phone call, it's going to be tracked as an activity. And on the call, the rep might be able to identify like a key stakeholder or someone who's part of the decision-making process. And they can actually set that contact as a stakeholder for the account, which, if anyone else is involved, it could potentially make it easier as the sales process goes through. But also during that call, let's say, for example, the stakeholder mentions that they have previously purchased a similar product from a competitor. Well, your sales rep should know that they need to make a note of that in the lead. And this can actually help you when your sales rep or their managers are looking at new ways to move the sales along. Now, kind of the other tools that we look at when it comes to the lead qualification stage is what we call the assistant. And this is a handy dandy little tool that can help out with reminders, around any upcoming meetings or appointments. And, if your reps maybe need that little nudge to follow up on a task, it can help them remind them. And this is all great and all. And, every organization, they still have their own processes. And Dynamics isn't trying to change the way you do business. You can even add your own procedures to the sales process. So if you require any type of compliance or particular steps that need to be completed before you move to the next step, well, you can absolutely set that as part of the qualification stage before it becomes an opportunity. Just to make sure everyone understands how the lead process works inside of Dynamics 365, I want to take a look at one more example together. So let's say we have a sales rep in our company named Tom, and he's at a trade show. And if you've ever been to a trade show, you know exactly how these work. This is the time where everyone's walking from booth to booth. They're getting their pens, their fidget toys, all sorts of fun swag, and they're also exchanging business cards. So let's say we have our own booth, and our sales rep, he set up some sort of gift card drawing. So anyone who drops their business card in the jar, they'll be entered in the drawing. But after the event, Tom has a bucket full of business cards. And that's where he's taking all of them and entering them as a lead inside of Dynamics. But remember, some of those business cards may have been from folks who were actually interested in our organization and the product we're offering, but some of them may have also just dropped their card into the jar for a chance to win a prize. So what Tom needs to do is he needs to qualify these leads. And in order to do that, maybe he's using LinkedIn. Maybe he's doing research on other related records to kind of understand the lead a little bit more before following up. And so that when he does call the customer, he's able to discuss their needs and, maybe he's learning who the decision makers are at that company. And while that's going on, Tom is capturing all of this information as an activity inside of Dynamics. And so after he gets off the phone, maybe then he's collaborating with all the other reps on the team. So, see if anyone else has had experience working with that particular customer. And one of Tom's colleagues, they knew that particular organization recently went through a massive management restructure and that there's probably going to be additional stakeholders who are going to be involved. And that information can then also be added to the lead. So let's say, maybe a week's passed and then Tom reaches out to schedule a face-to-face meeting where the relationship assistant can actually give him more information on the individuals they're meeting with. And so Tom is able to meet with some of the stakeholders, not everyone, but the meeting goes well. And so then the company shares that they might be interested in learning more. Tom thanks them for their time and he goes back to the office to qualify the lead. That lead just started as a business card in a bowl and now has been qualified and turns into an opportunity. And since all the work Tom has done so far has been documented inside of Dynamics, he'll be able to leverage the assistant to make sure he continues to build the relationship based off of all of those past interactions. And so when you do have a lead that turns into an opportunity, you go from the qualify step to the develop step in the sales process. And an opportunity is kind of viewed as a potential sale. And in order for it to turn into a sale, your sales team needs to develop the relationship to increase that likelihood of closing the deal. And opportunities are an incredibly important part of the sales process because this is typically where your sales team is spending most of their time and effort. And managing opportunity typically includes several customer interactions. So this is multiple meetings, phone calls, or different tasks. And in most cases, how well the sales team manager, looks and manages all the opportunities on their team with their sales reps, this can be a difference between a win and a loss. So if we were to go back, to our scenario with Tom, he's gone through the qualify stage and he's created an opportunity. Now, since he's in the develop stage, Tom is going to start collecting data that's required by his organization. So in this case, he's putting in the estimated close date, any type of budget information, and he'll also make a note of any products that the customer is interested in and start to pull pricing based off of the quantities and sale type. Any information, though, that Tom has entered in the qualify stage about the contacts or any competitors, it's all automatically going to transfer to the opportunity. So let's say then Tom is scheduling a lunch meeting with some of the key stakeholders for later on in the week. Now, before the meeting, the assistant tool can remind Tom of the meeting and actually shares a published article on the company. So during the lunch meeting, Tom may make a formal proposal or one could be requested. And when Tom gets back to the office, he's going to then move the opportunity to the proposal stage and generating a quote based off the pricing and the product catalog. That quote is presented to the company, they accept the terms, and Tom then advances the opportunity to close and sends the customer an order, and the opportunity is closed as a win. Now, in this example, the opportunity was a win, but that's only one of many different ways that you can actually close out an opportunity. It can be closed when there's a quote or when an order is created. But it also can be closed as a loss if, let's say, for example, a company chooses to go with a competitor. But what I want to show you is how easy this process can be. So let's go ahead and work through a lead and an opportunity inside of Dynamics 365 Sales. So we are back inside of Dynamics, but I want you to make note that I am no longer in the marketing app. I'm in the Sales Hub now. And looks similar, but here what we're going to do is we're first going to create a lead. So let's say, for example, we're at a trade show and we're collecting those business cards. Right now, I don't have any leads. So I can go ahead and create one. Now I'm creating it manually. You can set it up so if there's maybe event registration or an interest form that it automatically comes over, but this is the manual process. So maybe we are saying wants to buy new product for office. All right, so that's kind of like the summary of our conversation. And in this case, I was talking with a gentleman named Duke and their last name, Campbell. All right, and they work as the office manager for a company. We don't have their phone number. Maybe I don't have their business card. Maybe it was just kind of scribbled down on a piece of paper. But they mentioned that they work at, let's say that they told me that they worked at Millie's coffee shop. All right. And again, the thing that you'll notice that's nice about leads is that you don't have to have all of that information. Really, it's just about collecting, hey, there may be a potential interest here, and that's why we need to be able to qualify or disqualify it. So I don't have anything else. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to select save. So that lead has been created for Duke Campbell. Now, maybe I give Duke a call after the trade show. So what I can do is on that timeline, I can add a phone call. And I can just say follow up from trade show. And, maybe Duke sent me a text, and so I got his phone number. And Duke said he would like to see product listing. So Duke's let me know that, hey, I kind of want to check out your whole product catalog, and I know that I need to send that over. So I'm going to go ahead and save and close. And I've already had that phone call, and what's cool with Dynamics is your sales team can actually kind of use this as their own to-do list. So this could actually be done, proactively, like, hey, I need to call Duke or I need to call all these different reps, but I've already done it, so I'm going to go ahead and close the activity. And you can see that I made the phone call, so I'll close it out. So you can see that it's already been done. Now, since Duke told me that, hey, he wants to check out that product listing, I'm going to go ahead and qualify this lead. I know that this is a potential sales opportunity. So under the qualify, what I'm going to do is this is not an existing contact or anything, so I don't have an existing account to add him to, but I do have him as a decision maker because he's going to be the one buying this for his office. So I can move it to the next stage. But you notice here that there is no opportunity. So if I wanted to have it automatically create an opportunity for me, I can manually create one, but I want all of this information I've collected on Duke to transfer over. So I'm going to go ahead and select qualify. Now notice, I don't know if you're paying attention, over here on that left-hand side, we're no longer under leads. We're now under opportunities. So we have now created a contact record for Duke. We've now created an account for Millie's Coffee Shop. These did not exist before, but because I took a lead and turned it into that opportunity, all of that same information was brought over with me. Now, if I wanted to, let's say, for example, I now need to add a task, and it is to send over the product catalog. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and save and close. And if I wanted to, I could add a due date. But in this, if I'm syncing it with any of my other Microsoft Office applications like Outlook, this could be added to my task look inside of Outlook as well. But this lets me know that this hasn't been done. So if I have anyone else, on my sales team, so let's say, for example, that Duke has a connection with, let me see here. Let's see. I think Duke mentioned that he had worked with Jim before, but it doesn't look like Jim's on my sales team, so he wouldn't necessarily be on there. But he also mentioned that he works with Jeff. So I'm going to go ahead and add Jeff. Jim's not on our team, so I'm not going to add him to it. If I wanted to, I could link that information. But then, if I wanted to, I could add any competitors. So lets me know, they've worked with Coho Technologies in the past, so I want to make sure I'm linking them as a potential competitor that we need to be aware of. And so anybody like Jim or James, anyone who's on my team, they can come in and see we have outstanding tasks or there's any upcoming meetings. And this is also if I was working on any quotes, I wanted to start to build out a quote. It's not a proposal yet. It's just a chance for me to add any product lines. I can do that here. Or, any kind of one-off projects or products that they might be purchasing. So this allows me to keep all of that information together. And I can also, if I wanted to put in any type of estimated close dates or estimated revenue, it would let me do that. Now, I'm not going to go run through the entire sales process with this one account, but let's say, for example, we did create a quote and we did send it out as a proposal, and ultimately we won the opportunity and they purchased from us. Well, what I can do is if I were to follow the lead, we have the timeline that will walk me through everything. I will finally close it out, or I could just select it, close it as one. And when I close it out as a win, I can put in the total revenue. So let's say that we made $75,000 from this order. I didn't have any competitors. I don't need to add any descriptions. I'm just going to click OK. And now you can see that this is going to be now as a one record. So if I were to go back to my list of opportunities, I don't have any open opportunities. But if I wanted to go to my closed opportunities or my closed as one, you can see here, Millie's Coffee Shop was a close. Like I said before, the qualify and develop stage, this is where your team is going to be spending most of their time. But that's just part of the process. Remember, our goal is to close the deal. So let's go ahead and take a look at how you can go from opportunity to quote to order to invoice. And when your sales rep is developing the relationship, they're collecting all sorts of information that's going to help move the deal towards a sale. And when that customer is ready for that formal proposal, it's going to have the product, the pricing, and all of the payment details, and your sales rep needs that in order to create the quote. Now, a quote doesn't always have to come from an opportunity. They can be created manually, and you can do it all on their own. However, the cool thing is, when that quote is generated from an opportunity, all of that information collected during the develop stage, like pricing, like discounts, and all of that, it's going to be automatically imported into the quote. And then your reps can decide what they need to add or remove based off of the conversation. And this is important because usually that first quote isn't the one that the customer accepts. Oftentimes you have to go back and forth with the revisions. So let's say, for example, you have a company who says that they want 10 of our products. But then throughout the conversations are like, let's hold off on 4 of them until the end of the calendar year. It's easy enough to adjust the line items and then resend the quote. But I do want to bring up one important point. Once you activate a quote, you can't make edits to it. But if you do need to make changes, what you would do is you would close the original quote and then open up a new version and make those changes. Then you would activate the quote again before sending it to the customer. And this is really just to make sure that everyone can see the revision and make sure that everyone's working off the most recent quote. But once your customer has the quote and they sign off on it, it can be closed. And then the order is generated. And if the quote was generated from an opportunity, you can close it out from an opportunity as well. And that's kind of what I did in the demo. But I do want to make sure that after a quote is accepted, you're not going to go back and make any revisions to that quote. But so you have your customer, they've signed off on the quote, and they place an order. And an order, this is just the commitment from a customer to buy the products or services. And most of the time, orders are going to be created as a direct result of an accepted quote. But again, you absolutely can create each of these steps on their own as well. Now, when you have quotes that are converted to orders, all of the contents of the quote are added to the order record, and then the quote is closed. So you can kind of see how it moves along. And then, once the order is placed, it needs to be fulfilled. And what this does is this isn't, providing the services or products that the customer has asked for in the order. And then once the order has been fulfilled, you can create an invoice. And this is how you ask for payment from a business. So when an invoice is created, all of the products that were associated with the order, they're all automatically going to be added to the invoice. And if you wanted, you absolutely could add other products or services after the order has been created. And once the customer pays their invoice, it kind of with the payment, it depends on the terms of the billing. So that's usually part of like the contract or the quote. Do they have to pay it all up front? Can they do partial payments? When are they due? That's going to be more of a finance decision, but all of that can be notated on the invoice. But, what I hope you see kind of as we've gone through today is that Dynamics is here to help you manage the sales lifecycle and provide a solid foundation for your organization to qualify sales prospects and convert them into revenue. But just like what we saw in marketing, sometimes you need additional functionality that Dynamics 365 just doesn't have. And that's where you can connect to different applications. So when it comes, to developing opportunities, you're really looking for information on the organization and any of those contacts that are involved. You want to know your competitors so you understand who you're up against. You want to know who the stakeholders are and who your decision makers are going to be when it comes to making a deal. And you want to leverage the information that your teammates have, whether it's informal or formal. And while Dynamics 365 can help with some of this, you want to avoid cold calling every single lead that came across your sales team's desk. And wouldn't it be nice if you could identify your target prospects and have all of their information that could potentially help develop their relationships? Well, allow me to introduce you to Sales Insight and the LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Dynamics 365 Sales Insights is a tool that analyzes your existing customer information inside of Dynamics. And it looks at how often you interact with your customers or how often they're reaching out to you. It'll look at, let's say, any sales or upcoming activities. And all of this information is going to help you better understand the relationships with your customers and how you can repeat actions that led you to success in the past. So let's say you have an opportunity that you haven't been able to connect with in a few weeks. Maybe you're working on other opportunities. What Sales Insights can do is it can actually just tap you on the shoulder and remind you that you're not communicating with them as often, and that relationship may be slipping. It can also provide you with some different communication topics that might help personalize the interaction. And the way it works is it's looking at all of the data that you have. So let's say last time you did talk to them, they mentioned they were going on a ski trip in 2 weeks. And this was all said in an email. Well, that email was captured as an activity inside of Dynamics. So when you reach out, Sales Insights maybe will throw out a suggestion like, ask them how their trip was. And with Sales Insight, you can monitor the overall health of your customer relationships by identifying relationships that might be in the danger zone. And this can help you start rebuilding relationships before it's too late. And then finally, the other one that I want to talk about today is LinkedIn Sales Navigator. And we discussed this a little bit in Module 2. LinkedIn is a great way to find leads and connect with future customers. But when you link Dynamics with LinkedIn Sales Navigator, well, you can gather all sorts of different insights on your contacts. Think about it. Did a key stakeholder change jobs and move to a different company? Well, instead of having to create a new contact in Dynamics, the two records can actually be synced together. Or, let's say you're looking for a warm lead into a target company. You can look at the company's executive lists and see who your mutual connections are, and potentially who can make an introduction and avoid a cold call. Essentially, any data that's on LinkedIn can be pulled into Dynamics. If you send a message to a contact at a company, that message will be tracked as an activity in Dynamics. Or on a contact record, the LinkedIn profile picture can automatically be linked to create a personal connection with your customers. But what I like and what I think is really powerful is by having all of this information in one place, it makes it easier to extract those insights. For example, if you combined Dynamics 365 components like Sales Insights, you could see what a potential buyer is interested in based on the content they are sharing on LinkedIn. And you can look at the discussions they are participating in. Or, if your sales team, they can set up real-time alerts for when prospects connect with someone in their network, or maybe they're mentioned in the news. As we wrap up our last module of the day, what I hope is that you've learned that the entire life cycle, whether it's sales or marketing, can be supported with tools inside of Dynamics 365. But it doesn't just stop there. We do have applications like LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, Sales Insight. But what you can do is you can create an adaptive selling solution that's, at the end of the day, going to help you build long-term relationships with your customers. But that pretty much wraps up everything I have for you today. And quite frankly, we've covered a lot. Don't worry, the fun isn't totally over. We still have part 2, where we're going to look at customer service, field service, and project operations inside of Dynamics 365. However, if you are dying right now for more, don't forget about the free learning path on Microsoft Learn. You can find videos, additional documentation, and a sandbox environment to play around with these tools yourself. And all of this is available at aka.ms/mb910. That's